Start your day off right with the free In Touch devotional. Subscribe today.
When you think about treasure, what comes to your mind? Well, most people would say, well, money, prosperity, riches, all of those things come to mind. Well, if the only thing that comes to your mind when you think about riches is material things, you must be very poor, because the best things in life are not material. Best things in life supersede the material. Best things in life are higher quality than all of that. But on the other hand, there are some material things that are good. And God is a good God, and He gives us what we need, and much more than we deserve, much more oftentimes than we expect or anticipate. Treasures. Treasures. What is it in your life that you treasure? Is it somebody? Is it something? Some experience in your life? What is it that you treasure? And in this message, I want you to think about that. What is it in my life that I really and truly treasure? That is, I hold it dear. I hold it close. I protect it. It has high value to me. I love it. What is it that you really and truly treasure in life? Well, of all the people who had many things to treasure, Mary, the mother of Jesus, is certainly one of them. And it's interesting in the scripture that twice, she mentions the fact of treasuring what she's heard, what she's seen, what she's experienced, treasured in her heart, quietly holding it there, pondering it, thinking about it, examining it, and enjoying it. So I want you to turn, if you will, to the second chapter of Luke. And I want us just to read a couple of verses or so here, so to set the stage. And remember that Jesus at this point has been born, and the angels have announced to the shepherds about what's happened. And the scripture says in verse 15 of this second chapter, when the angels had gone away from them into heaven, the shepherds began saying to one another, let us go straight to Bethlehem then and see this thing that has happened, which the Lord has made known to us. So they came in a hurry, and they found their way to Mary and Joseph and the baby as he lay in the manger. When they had seen this, they made known the statement which had been told them about the child. And all who heard it wondered at the things which were told them by the shepherds. But Mary treasured all these things, pondering them in her heart. The shepherds went back, glorifying and praising God for all that they had heard and seen, just as had been told them. And then, again, the scripture says a little later on, and we'll come to this, the scripture says in verse 51 of Luke, same chapter, and he went down with them and came to Nazareth, and he continued in subjection to them, and his mother treasured all these things in her heart. So I would ask you again, what is it that you treasure, you hold dear to you, that you do not want to let go, that you like to think about it, that you ponder it in your heart? And I want us to look at the scripture here and ask that same question, and to think about it from the perspective of what Mary held in her heart and what she treasured in these experiences. And so to understand really what was transpiring in her life, you have to sort of understand the society in which she grew up and what was going on. And you'll remember in this particular chapter here, in the first chapter of Luke, when the angel came and spoke to her, here's what she said. She said, how can this be since I am a virgin? Now, I want to just make this clear. The Bible makes it very clear that Mary was a virgin. And once in a while you'll hear somebody say, well, the Bible doesn't really mean virgin like we think of virgin. Yes, it does. It means a woman or a young lady who has had no sexual experience with any man. And in every single case in the Bible where the word virgin is used, it never refers to a married woman. So when Mary said, how can this happen? Because I'm a virgin, she was saying, I've never had that experience with a man. And so what she couldn't understand is, how could God bring her to this and say, here's what's going to happen when I've never even had any kind of relationship. Now, think about this. It was the practice in those days, when it came to marriage, that the father of the bride chose the husband. And so, at what age? Anywhere from 12, 13, 14, 15 years of age, a young lady was betrothed. That is, in our terminology, she was engaged to the man she was going to marry. And this engagement lasted for 1 year. And after that, and there was to be no sex during that year. And the responsibility of the bride-to-be was to keep herself pure. And his responsibility was to prepare a house, a home for them. And then after 1 year, they could be married. And what they did is they had a big festival for the marriage for 7 days. Now, if you can imagine as a dad, your daughter's going to get married. And so they said, well, we're going to party for 7 days. That'd be a little expensive. And in those days, of course, they were rather poor. Most people were at that time. And so when a marriage took place, it was a big deal. And this engagement period, for example, was very serious. Much more serious than engagement today. People give somebody a ring today, and 2 weeks later they get mad and give it back. There's none of that kind of doings going on, because an engagement was as legal as a binding marriage. In other words, the only two ways you got out of an engagement was either by death or divorce. And so when two people were engaged to each other, this was serious business. And so Mary, if you remember this, Mary has her father to choose who this man's going to be. So we think in terms today, well, I dated this person and I fell in love, and falling in love, then I want to get married. Love had nothing to do with it. They could have been in love. In other words, they could have known each other, but the father could say, I want you to meet your husband-to-be, and that was it. Whatever he said, that was the law. And that's who she had to marry. Now, I used to read that and think about that, and think about how in the world would that be if somebody else chose my wife? Suppose I didn't like her looks. Suppose I didn't like this, suppose that, and so forth. And then I met a young man one day, and he said, I'm going home to be married. I said, where are you going? So he lives in another country, so he told me where he was going. And I said, well, how long have you known her? He said, I haven't. I said, whoa, wait a minute. You've not known her? No. You've never seen her? No. Wait a minute. Everything in me was just having a revolt. I said, you mean you're going to marry somebody you have never seen, don't know anything about? You don't know whether you can't love them, you don't know them. Well, that's the way it is in our country.